Hello there, students. I am Umesh Patil and I welcome you all in the history classes. In the 9th standard, we are going to learn about in the today's video class of your first lesson of history, and that is sources of history. Till now, we have studied the history of ancient, medieval and modern India. This year, we have to study the history of India in the post-independence era or in the post-independence period. Sources of modern history are different from those of ancient and medieval history. We can study history with the help of various sources. Sources can be like the written sources, oral sources, and material sources. So, if we will see these three types of resources of history as written source, oral source, material source, these all are the medium to receive or to get information about the past event. So basically what we can say, history it is an account of past event which is arranged very systematically, which has scientific proof. Along with these sources, we can add the modern source, that is audio visual source. We can use here audio visual source of history, because in the modern period of time we have to take note of various sources and they can be studied the history of region, that means the regional history. Or it can be the history of state, or it can be the history of nation, that means national. We can study not only the national as well as international history too. So we can say we can write these all type of, or we can study these all type of history as per the regional, state, national and international level. So we can write history with the help of these resources. So these resources are very important in the study of history. So dear students, let's jump into to learn more about history as following its resources. So the first resources we are going to learn, that is the written source. So written sources includes like the newspapers, periodicals, encyclopedias, postage stamps, reference books, diaries, correspondence, documents in archives, or we can say government gadgets. These all are the written sources of history. When we take an account of newspaper, so if we want to study the events of 1950, so we can study those events by referring the newspaper of 1950. 1950s newspapers we can see they are stored or preserved in the number of the museums. In the same way, there are some periodicals. Periodicals, what we can say about these, there are the number of the magazines or journals. Okay, these all are published at the regular interval of times. So through that also we can understand the history, the information about the history. There are the number of the diaries, like writers, leaders. They write their own experience or their life experience in the diaries. So we can understand the social, cultural or religious or economical background of that particular era. There are the number of the reference books. Suppose if I want to study the history of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, medieval period, Mughals and the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So I can refer number of the books which has been written by the writers. Or I can have the references like the Britishers, those who have written about the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. The reference books or the references which are noted by them that I can refer. There are the number of the correspondence, that means the letters or books are there. For example, there can be the discussion between the Mughals and the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Okay, or there can be the meeting places where to meet, how to meet. Okay, for example, we can say meetings between the or letters are sent or received between the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj or Mughal. Okay, so these kind of letters can be the sources of studying the history. Okay, next one what we can say, documents in archives. So documents in archives means what we can say, it is a place or institution of group of people. That means the place where historical documents are preserved or stored is called the archives. And the main office of the National Archives of our India, it is located at New Delhi. And it is the largest among the archives in Asia. Please make note. Next what we can say, the government gadgets. Government gadgets, of course, there can be the orders. Okay, orders means like government gadgets also includes the newspapers. Order means in particular period or in particular time, what type of orders were given by the government, how the people were following the rules and everything. Okay, now we can say in the North Korea, okay, the Kim, he is giving the kinds of orders to the people and all people are following his orders and commands. So such orders and commands can be included into the government gadgets in the proof to be studied the sources of history. Now postage stamps. Postage stamps also it is a very important source of history. That means it includes all the historical events. So in this way we can say including the encyclopedias, that means the Wikipedias are there or number of the websites are there that are included in the encyclopedias. So these written sources are helping us to understand the information about the past events, that means the history. Next source we can say the foremost, that is newspapers. Just as the newspapers are considered the fourth pillar of our democracy in modern period of time. Like the first, second and third, we can include in it, that is the executives, then the legislatives and the judiciaries. After these, the fourth pillar is the newspaper. So the newspaper is playing very major role in the medium of information because it is a source of information. If we consider the period like from the 1961 to 2000, this period if we will consider, we see that in the very beginning, the initiative period of this time, we can say there was no any alternative to the print media. To the print media. Print media means especially for the newspaper, means all the printed publications are included into the print media, especially to the newspaper. There was no any alternative or option or choice. Okay, so with the view of liberalization, when there were the openness in the thoughts, ideas, okay, then after the liberalization, we could see the widespread use of internet in the India, and there was an alternative for print media which became available, that was internet. So the print media, it couldn't reduce its importance. Still it was continued to be very powerful. Because through the newspaper we can get information about national, international affairs, politics, arts, sports, literature, social and cultural affairs we could get. Not only these, but we could contain the matters related to the human life, most probably. Then there are the most of the newspapers, they have started to publish some of the regional editions through the newspapers. And through that regional editions, we could receive lots of information. Not only these, but they publish some of the supplements. And that supplements give information about various topics such as USA Today, the Times, or we can say Daily Mirror. These some of the examples we could see as additional or supplement of the newspapers. Then there are the newsletters. Those newsletters of various movements, they published some of the daily newspapers. Daily means daily newspapers. Or we could see weeklies or political, as well as there are some of the parties which published some kind of editions as weekly, or we can say daily or monthly, and they published all sorts of information through the annual magazines. So these annual magazines are important among all the print media like newspaper or the periodicals or whatever it is. Then some of the newspapers produce some special supplements. Special supplements, what we can say, such as Times Education, or we can say literary supplements. These all are the supplements has been started by the newspaper. So these all take an overview of the important events of the year. Such supplements of the year, they provide us the information about the events which has been take place in a year or within a year. To understand the important events of the year or that particular period of time, such as New York Times magazine is producing or giving such a information about the events which took place in that particular period of time. Next important source we could see, that is PTI. PTI means Press Trust of India. After 1953, we can see PTI has been started, an important source of primary details of all the important events and of articles on important subjects. They started to collect information about it. Not only these, but Press Trust of has been provided reports, photographs, as well as articles on some financial issues or articles over some scientific issues. They have provided the information to the newspapers. PTI has been started its online services too. During the 1990s, PTI has been started the satellite broadcast technology instead of using teleprinters. Teleprinters means we can say the fax. Okay, they stopped to use that and they started to use satellite broadcast technology. Okay, and they send all the information, all the news all over the country. And this material is very crucial and important for writing the history of the modern India. Hope so the PTI, this point is clear to you. Dear students, next we have the postage stamps. Now the postage stamps couldn't reveal anything on their own. Okay, why? A historians make them speak. They couldn't reveal anything of their own. That means there have been several changes in the postage stamps since India became independent. And the postage stamps reveals a lot to us about changing times. Time to time we could see the changes in the postage stamps due to its variety. Due to its variety, in what we could say, in the size of the stamps, in the novelty of the stamps, and in the subjects we could say there are the freshness, or we can say the newness or originality we could involve in the postage stamp. So as per the time, the postage stamps has been changed. Their color scheme also has been changed. So the postal department issues the postage stamps on a wide variety of things, like we could say there can be a political leader on their anniversaries or jubilees, something we could provide the postage stamps, new postage stamps, or there can be the national flowers, animals, birds, there can be a particular event, or we could see the silver jubilee, golden jubilee, diamond jubilee. These everything it is involved in it as the postage stamps are concerned with. Or we could see if the 100 years are completed, then we could celebrate their centenary. 200 years are completed, then bicentenary. 300 are completed, then we could see the tercentenary. These all are the events are related to the postage stamps. So these events are very helpful or very valuable for repository of history. Hope so you understood the postage stamps. Next we have the material sources. Now material sources, what we could see, material sources means these all are available in the form of objects. So these sources included among the physical sources of history. Okay, for example, there can be sculptures, monuments, coins, ornaments, pots, then places of worship, museums, things in daily use, clothing, royal scenes, or modern architecture. These all are involved in the material sources like forts, okay, etc. So let us see in detail what are the material sources. So dear students, next we have material sources. If we talk about the material source, we will first take an account of coins. Coins, the branch which studies the history of coins is known as numismatic. The numismatic, it is a branch which studies the history of coins. So through the coins, what we can understand, first we could see that the changes in the printing of currency notes, because Reserve Bank of India prints the notes and it has its headquarters in Mumbai. So through the coins, what we can understand? We can understand the history with the help of coins. And the changes, what type of changes we can say? That is knowledge of metal. We can understand whether it is of gold, silver, bronze, aluminium, steel, etc. Okay, then the level of prosperity. We can understand the level of prosperity through the coins, including purity of coins, whether as it is declining the era or it is prospering the era. So the purity of the coin we could see. Not only these, but we can say some of the political status we can understand through the history. social, cultural history also we could understand. Why? Because in the number of the coins we could see there are some religious emblems like images of goddesses like Vaishno Devi or Bajrang Bali or Om, or we could see the Shiva or Lord Rama. Such a religious emblems we could see over it. Okay. Then we can understand through the coins, that is script. Script means language we can understand. Okay. Number of the languages are written or curved over the coins. So we could get the language history too related to that particular period. Then we can understand through the coins, that is dynastic history. Dynastic history means we could understand through the coin when we observe that the name or the title of the ruler. Name of the ruler we can understand. The title which is given to that particular ruler or the leader we could understand through the coins. Not only that, but we could see the miniature art, that is miniature art like symbols, designs, shapes or sizes we could understand through the coins. The coins from 1950s to those used at the present, we could see the varied changes in the metal used for making them. Not only that, but we can see there are the different shapes, sizes and the diversity of subjects on the coins. Together, they help us to understand the important contemporary issues of that particular period of time. For example, we could see there is a message which is conveyed through a coin, that is population control. Or we could see the coin which is giving importance to the farmers. Or we could see the importance given to the crops or nature, isn't it? So these all are important events are taken place, and through that we can understand the history. We could see a particular leader picture over the coin, so we could understand all about the era, which era the coin is belongs to, including year. Okay, so this is what about coins we could study the history, and it is a very crucial source of history. Next one we have museums. All the states of India have museum that gives some of the characteristics and they display the cultural as well as social heritage of that particular state and country. Okay, they entrusted us to understand the history. For example, if we could see the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Museum, it is located at Mumbai. Okay, the second one we can say the Reserve Bank Museum. Reserve Bank Museum, it is in the Pune city. So these museums have the sources, that means the information which is preserved there, as included the heritage of that particular country, heritage of that particular state or city. Not only this, but we could see the government museums are located, and some are the private collectors also set up their own museums to reveal the history, to present the history. And what did they do there? They are all based on some different subjects, like what we could say, there can be the collection of the coins, there can be the collection of the notes, equipments, or we could say the tools, or we could say all type of stone age tools, or we could say the different shapes, nut cutters are involved there, cricket equipments are involved there. So these all are the distinguished features of that particular museum to present it, and through that we can understand the history of that particular period. Okay, for example, suppose Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, if we want to study the history of weapons, so all the weapons it will be presented there as a source of history. So through that we can understand the people, the Mauras or Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj or Mughals, what type of weapons those era it is used. Hope so it is understood. Next one, we could see the history through the oral sources. Now what are these oral sources? Oral sources includes some of the folk tales, folk songs, proverbs, ballads, ovis, or like Marathi verses, the traditional songs, or we could say the activities which were inspired by the poadas like Lokshahir Annabhau Sate or the Shahir Amar Sheikh during the Sanyukta Maharashtra movement. Okay, there are some of the inspirational songs, devotional songs in the oral sources, so that we can see what type of situation was there in those period or in that particular era. For example, if we will see the song Kadam Kadam Badaye Ja Khushi Ke Geet Gaye Ja. Okay, in this song we could see this was implemented by the Subhash Chandra Bose for his army. Okay, for the army, and the army used to sing this song orally. So this is through this song we could understand the type of situation of that particular period, including the situation of soldiers. Not only that, but we could see there is a poem like Avahan poem which is written by the Kusumagrans, and this poem is dealing the information about the Sino-Indian War which was fought in the 1962. That issues the full information, what was the situation of the soldiers, what was the situation of the nation, everything it is related or written through this poem. We can understand history of that particular year 1962. Next one we have the audio visual sources. Audio visual sources we could see these are the modern sources like including television, films, internet. These all are called the audio visual videos, and these videos or these media, that means there can be many TV channels like domestic channels or the foreign television channels we watch like Discoveries, History channels. Okay, these all are under this head which gives us, which provides us the history of particular time. Suppose a particular leader, if I want to see or if I want to hear the first speech which is given by the Prime Minister, that is the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, that speech I could hear. That means the media or the information is available in the form of audio or the visual, right? This is what we could see about the audio visual sources, and for that we could see FTII, that means Film and Television Institute of India. Through these, the government of India started the Film and Television Institution in India. Why? To provide the public education. And this Film and Television Institution, it is at Pune. They started it at Pune in 1960. Okay, then what we can say, through this institution we could call the Indian news reviews which are produced through it, and they are providing the various news channels, or they are providing the various news series on the important event, and they includes cultural, social issues like arts, sports. Also they include in it. The department also has been started the various documentaries over the eminent leaders or the important leaders of that particular people, so that the people who have made the major contribution to the society, their documentaries, short documentaries have been started to casted with the help of FTII. Okay, and these events, when we will talk about, they locate some of the important locations too, and these news release and documentaries are very useful to study the history of modern India, the way we can see. So in this way we have seen about all the information of the sources of history. Hope so you have understood it. So till now we have seen some important sources for writing the history of modern India, and the time in the 21st century are the changing so rapidly, so that even today we could see some of the sources which proves that these sources are very inadequate, insufficient, because however the new sources are coming forefront. For example, the process of transformation, the one source is getting dead out or outdated and the another sources are updated. So as a historians or as the readers of the history, we should have the plenty of amount of information. It can be available on the internet or wherever it is. So we should have studied the history, the truth, the authenticity of the history, the reliability of the history. Everything should be verified and tested, so we can understand the history. It is a scientific method. Hope so you have understood the process. In the next video we will meet with the next lesson, and have a nice day.